Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times Willy B, we'll be reviewing If. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell.
Welcome back to Fast Times Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Court on the pod for the first time. Court, how are we doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming on. So today we'll be reviewing John Krasinski's If. Imaginary friends, invisible friends, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
If. They're ifs.
Ifs.
So obviously this one directed by John Krasinski. We've seen him take on the director's role before with the Quiet Place movies. Cast-wise, Ryan Reynolds is one of the bigger stars of this movie. Steve Carell also voice acting in this movie as our main If, Blue. And then we got Kaylee Fleming, who plays our main character, B, as the child star of the film. So we'll start with the good.
Okay.
And the first good I want to highlight is Michael Giacchino's score.
Oh, yeah. It was great. Great score. Just
Whimsical.
Oh, yes. It really brought you back that sense of wonderment as a child.
Yeah.
Just really brought you back to the good old days.
Yeah. And, like I said, Giacchino obviously has a name for himself. He's done movies like The Batman. He did some of the Spider-Man movies. And he's done some Pixar movies. Here we get him in If. And we were listening to the score once we left the theater.
Yeah, we were.
We popped it on in the car and we were listening to it again.
Yeah.
It was just magical, It was such a good score.
Yeah, it really was. I was very impressed.
Yeah. So it the same kind of tune played throughout this movie, and every time you heard it, it almost just lets you settle down. But I like the score a lot. Honestly, I enjoyed the story quite a bit.
And so did I.
It was one I didn't know how I was going to feel going into it, but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
This was one of those movies for me that I really didn't know what to expect, and I really didn't know what to compare it to. Mm-hmm. But with John Krasinski that it's going to be a pretty good movie, and I thought just coming from the movies that he's made in the past to this, it's a different type of movie, but
yeah,
he put his own spin on it and made it great.
Made it his.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely a feel-good family film.
Yeah.
One that I think could become a family classic.
Oh.
But it was a story that, at times made you cry. You and I both shed a few tears.
Yeah.
But also made you laugh, made you feel good. Mm-hmm. So it was a roller coaster of emotion. I loved the emotional presence in it, you between what she's dealing with in the real world and then her role in trying to help these imaginary friends get back with their original owners. Just all of that puts you on an emotional toll.
And I loved how in the beginning she was talking about how I'm not a kid and how she just wanted to grow up. And I feel like a lot of times for us, when we grew up, we were always saying, oh, I can't wait until I grow up.
18 or 21.
But then this was that type of movie where when I was watching the movie, it kind of brought me back to those moments of my childhood that I missed the most.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, just to be a kid again. Yeah. And I feel like as adults, we don't realize how quick life goes by.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I wish I could be a kid again.
Yeah.
And that's 100% it. She's 12 years old, lost her mother. Her dad is dealing with heart issues, and John Krasinski plays her dad. And, dealing with what she went through with her mom and now her dad going through it again. She wants to be strong. She wants to be an adult. But her dad is trying to be this funny, like, don't take life so serious. And she's like, I'm not a kid. But then the discovery of the ifs kind of jolt her back into the childhood and allow her to reconnect the ifs with their children that are all grown up now. And it was cool. Like, no matter how old you are, it's okay to be a kid.
Yeah.
It's okay to have fun.
Have those moments. Yeah. And just live in the moment and never grow up, really. I mean, grow up, but just don't forget that you can have those moments of fun in your life.
For sure. It was a very good story. I like the story a lot. I like the emotion. Honestly, good cinematography. Obviously, we get a mixture here of animation and live action, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and movies like that. And I thought the animated characters looked really good.
Oh,
I thought
yeah,
the live
they
action
did.
characters obviously looked really good. But anytime we got outside shots, I loved the cinematography, especially when we get B walking in the neighborhood with all the
Yeah.
trees, sometimes at night with the light posts. I just thought John Krasinski, in his direction, I think he delivered his message well. I know some people might not agree with me there, but I think the message was delivered loud and clear, and I enjoyed it.
Oh.
And I think that he got some really good shots out of this movie
Yeah,
too.
I definitely think it's a movie that I would recommend that you go see because it's a different type of movie, but it's a feel good story and there's a lot of good shots and
Yeah,
it's just a great movie overall.
for sure. Acting for the most part was pretty good. I thought Kaylee Fleming was really good as our lead B. Ryan Reynolds. That wasn't his best role ever,
No.
but he did what he did what he had to do.
Well, I feel like it was a different type of movie for Ryan Reynolds.
For sure.
I mean, coming from, we know and love him as Deadpool.
Yeah.
This is kind of a different spin on it, kind of a feel good movie, but I feel like he handled the role pretty well.
Yeah, but I don't know if you agree with me here, but the standout for me was Steve Carell and his voice acting.
I would agree with you. I mean, this is a type of movie that can really show off Steve Carell's voice acting in a great way.
Well, we've got his voice acting a bunch in movies prior. Obviously, Despicable Me is a prime example of that, but him playing Blue, playing this awkward, anxious, giant, monstrous, imaginary friend who, at the end of the day, comes off as big, but is just a love bug.
Oh, yeah. I really loved his character and how he portrayed Blue, and his voice acting was very great. And I just think, who better to play Blue than Steve Carell?
Oh, it was such a good casting. And one of the scenes I loved is when he's like, so we can save all the... And he starts, and she's like, don't say ifs. And he's like, and he's like going on, and he's dragging it, and he goes, "You gotta let him say it." And he goes,
or his head's gonna blow off.
yeah, that was so good. And Steve Carell, just throughout the entire movie, his line delivery. Obviously, when you're voice acting, line delivery is the key.
Oh, yeah.
It was all top notch. I think he took this role and ran with it, and he is my standout for sure in this movie. Not to take away from anybody else, because again, I thought Kaylee Fleming was great as our lead. I thought John Krasinski was great in his limited role as the father. But Steve Carell made this movie.
He really took the cake with this one.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be nearly as good of a movie without Steve Carell.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Steve Carell did a great job. I thought this movie was really fun to follow along with. Like, it was paced well. I never thought that it was dragging or that it was moving too fast. But it had a really good ending.
Yeah, it did.
An ending that started really sad and then ended up being happy.
And it was a ending that I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't expecting Ryan Reynolds' character to be an if.
Yeah. That was the happy ending, in my opinion. When she finally helps Blue reconnect with his person, and then they have their celebration with all the ifs, and she gets home and her grandma's like, "Where have you been, your dad?" And so they go to the hospital, and she's crying. She's talking to Calvin, Ryan Reynolds' character, Cal. I can't do this again. I can't say goodbye. And he goes, "Then tell a story." And we get her story, and then we find out her dad's okay. And so you start to pick up, and then all the imaginary friends are gone. You're like, "Oh no, did she grow up?"
Yeah.
Then as she's moving out of her grandma's house, she makes the connection that Cal is the clown imaginary friend that she had.
Yeah, because when I noticed,
growing up.
because when she was about to leave and she brought whatever she brought to Cal to give to him for saying thank you, and he wasn't there, it kind of clicked in my mind, but I still wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I was like,
I kind of had the feeling that he was an if as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe that he was just the leader of the ifs or something, but seeing the picture, her picture drawing from her childhood where it says Cal the clown.
It was
and
like,
you remember
that
Lewis mentioned he was a clown in his past job. And so you're like, oh.
Okay.
And then she goes back upstairs.
And now it all clicks. It's like, wow.
And she closes her eyes and imagines, and
they're all there.
They're all back, and Cal's holding the balloon waiting for her, and happy ending.
Yeah, very happy ending. Definitely a cheer jerker for sure, but a happy ending nonetheless.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie a lot. There's a lot of good in my opinion. And we both had similar feelings leaving this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it made us cry, it made us laugh. And
It's
we
all
love the score.
it's all the things you want in a movie. It has that emotion, but also just that heartwarming feeling, just that warm feeling about it, and
yeah.
you leave the movie theater feeling great.
Yeah. Is there any other good you'd like to mention before we move on?
I thought overall that there was a lot of good in this movie. I really can't pinpoint anything that I loved more than the other. I thought overall I loved everything about this movie.
For sure. So we'll hop over to the meh, and I only have one meh, and it was the imagination scene. So we get the scene after she's taken to the headquarters of the Ifs, and it's Lewis tells her, if you close your eyes and imagine, you can make anything happen. And it goes on a little bit of a montage that I just thought was a little bit messy and a little bit out of pocket for me.
For me, I thought that the concept behind her imagination, like how she put all of the ifs in kind of like their setting, was pretty cool.
For
in
sure.
Their own setting. But I did feel like it was kind of just put together and rushed. Like I felt like it was just thrown in there, kind of. Like,
Yeah, it's really the only thing I have to nitpick on this movie. Are there little flaws here and there? Sure.
Of course. That's with every movie.
But that's really the only major thing that stuck out for me in the man. I don't have anything in the bad.
No.
I don't think that there was really anything bad with this movie. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed this movie.
And the better thing about it was I honestly was not knowing what to expect with this movie. I was just going in. I thought it was going to be a pretty good movie, but I was not expecting this.
Yeah. I would say I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Swap over to our final thoughts and ratings since neither of us have anything in the bad.
Yeah.
And a thought that I would say is, when it comes to kids' movie, it takes a lot for, not even kids, just family movie in general. It takes a lot to create replay value on family movies for me, especially now that I'm growing up. Like family movies that I can think of that have a lot of replay value for me are, there's a few Pixar movies here and there, like Onwards, one for me, Cars, The Incredibles, and then movies like Hocus Pocus. I guess you can consider a family movie that has replay value for me, but I would put this in that category, that this has high replay value for a family movie.
Oh, definitely. This is
at least for me.
For me, I know it's a Paramount Plus picture, so when it comes out on Paramount Plus, I'm definitely giving this movie a rewatch.
Oh, for sure.
This definitely has great replay value. It's a great family movie to just have a family movie night and relax. So I loved everything about this movie, and I think everybody should go at least check this out once in theaters. Yeah. Because it's a great experience.
I agree. Definitely a great experience. Get the family together, like you said. Hit up Brian, Faith, Cole, and Chloe, and say, hey, let's watch If. But no, definitely when it comes out on Paramount Plus, this is one that I would, tell my mom to throw on the projector and watch out in the backyard.
It's just a feel-good story. Yeah. Like, there's not a lot of bad, just great things about this movie. I loved it. Yeah.
So what are you giving it out of 10?
I would give it an 8.
An 8? Okay. We're in the same boat. I'm going 8 out of 10 as well. I left the theater in the 7.5 to 8 range. Yeah. And after sitting on it for a few hours, I can confidently say 8 out of 10.
I was like 7, but then the more I thought about the message,
and the more I played the Giacchino score for you.
what it was trying to get across, mostly the message for me about just slowing down and living those little moments and being a kid. Yeah. The message really struck a chord with me, and it really had me feeling good about this movie.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely a feel good, and again, we both highly recommend.
Yeah, this is definitely a movie that you have to at least check out, watch it with your family or in the movie theater, but it's definitely a movie that I would recommend to go see.
100%. Well, that'll do it for If. Court, my man.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you for watching the movie with us as well.
Yes, of course.
Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, please check out some of these other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. It is all appreciated, and I just appreciate you watching. We will talk to you all soon. Peace.